The architecture of control, banned symbols and institutions of the Third Reich. 1. The visual construction of power. Under Adolf Hitler's rule, Nazism engineered not only a political system but an aesthetic empire. Every line, gesture, and uniform was choreographed to transmit submission, unity, and fear. The swastika, the salute, the uniforms, the runes, none of it was accidental. Together, they created a visual grammar of obedience. Today, those same creations are outlawed, not because of what they looked like, but because of what they enabled. Footnote. Nazi visual culture functioned as a systemic language of control, later criminalized for its association with totalitarian ideology. 2. The swastika, a symbol stolen from antiquity. The swastika was once a peaceful sign of good fortune across ancient cultures. Hitler turned it into a weaponized brand. By rotating it and encasing it in red and white, he transformed a symbol of harmony into one of domination. It appeared everywhere, on schools, courtrooms, and even children's workbooks. After 1945, it was banned across Europe. In Germany, Austria, France, and Poland, its public display can lead to prison. Only education, research, or remembrance justify its use. The swastika's journey from spiritual symbol to global warning remains one of history's starkest visual reversals. Footnote. Modern law prohibits Nazi-era use of the swastika, preserving it solely for historical and educational contexts. 3. The Nazi salute, obedience by design. The outstretched arm salute, mandatory, mechanical, and menacing, turned individuals into synchronized extensions of state power. Failing to perform it could mean suspicion, denunciation, or arrest. It was a gesture that dissolved individuality into collective ritual. Today, raising one's arm in that way is a criminal act in Germany and Austria. Once a greeting, it is now evidence of extremism. The same hand that once saluted now symbolizes submission to ideology rather than nation. Footnote. The Nazi salute, once compulsory, is now criminalized as a manifestation of extremist propaganda. 4. The SS runes, ancient myths, modern crimes. Himmler's obsession with pagan symbols birthed the SS runes, two lightning bolts forming an emblem of terror. They adorned caps, gates, and gravestones. These runes were more than decoration, they were sacred icons of racial fanaticism. After the war, Germany banned all such insignia. Modified versions still trigger prosecution. A tattoo, a patch, a pixel, each can be grounds for investigation. What began as pseudo-spiritual branding ended as the universal shorthand for organized murder. Footnote. SS runic emblems remain banned due to their role as identifiers of state-sponsored violence and genocide. 5. The Horst Wessel Lied, music as indoctrination. Every movement needs an anthem. For the Nazis, it was the Horst Wessel Lied, a marching song glorifying martyrdom and struggle. It was sung in schools, parades, and funerals, always with the salute. After 1945, it became a criminal sound. Germany still prohibits its public performance or recording unless for research. What was once the soundtrack of submission is now evidence in courtrooms. Footnote. The Horst Wessel Lied remains banned as direct propaganda material of the National Socialist Party. 6. The SS, bureaucratized terror. The SS evolved from a personal guard into a state within the state. Under Himmler, it controlled concentration camps, police, and ideology itself. It murdered civilians, ran extermination sites, and administered racial policy. At Nuremberg, it was declared a criminal organization. Its symbols and names remain forbidden. Even coded references are monitored. What was once the regime's iron arm is now the legal embodiment of state-sanctioned atrocity. Footnote. The SS was judicially classified as a criminal organization, rendering all its symbols and references illegal. 7. The Hitler Youth, indoctrination in uniform. The Hitler Youth turned childhood into state property. Its beige shirts and black scarves taught discipline, devotion, and blind obedience. Attendance became mandatory. Children marched, saluted, and sang oaths before turning 18, and often, directly into soldiers. After 1945, the organization was outlawed, its symbols criminalized. Today, even replicas of its uniform can trigger legal action. So what does that actually mean? It means that indoctrination dressed as patriotism is now treated as a crime, not a culture. Footnote: the Hitler Youth structure and iconography are banned to prevent ideological reformation under new guises. 8. The Gestapo, fear without law. The Gestapo operated as lawlessness in uniform. It needed no warrants, no evidence, no trials. A whisper could destroy a life. After the war, its archives revealed a bureaucracy of suspicion, neighbors informing on neighbors. Today, glorifying or displaying its symbols is prohibited. The Gestapo survives only in historical records, a textbook example of how surveillance and fear can replace justice. Footnote: the Gestapo's glorification or symbolic reproduction is illegal under post-war German law. 9. The Ahnenerbe, pseudosciences policy. The Ahnenerbe dressed ideology in lab coats. Its members traveled the world in search of proof that Germans descended from Atlanteans, because apparently, racism required archaeology. Their discoveries were fabricated to justify conquest. After the war, the organization's archives exposed how pseudoscience can become genocide's lab assistant. Its name and emblems remain banned, its files serve as evidence of how knowledge can be weaponized. Footnote: the Ahnenerbe's academic facade masked racial propaganda, leading to its total post-war prohibition. 10. Mein Kampf, the blueprint of destruction. Written in prison, Mein Kampf was part autobiography, part manifesto, and entirely poisonous. It blamed Jews for Germany's problems and mapped out expansionist war plans. After the war, it was banned for decades. Only a heavily annotated edition was republished in 2016 for educational purposes. What began as hate on paper became genocide in practice. Footnote: Mein Kampf remains restricted, with publication permitted only for critical or academic purposes. 11. The Volksempfänger, the People's Radio. Goebbels' People's Receiver turned homes into echo chambers. It was cheap, simple, and engineered to hear only the Führer. Foreign frequencies were almost impossible to reach. By 1940, 70% of German households owned one. The device's design was psychological architecture, it tuned minds, not music. Today, surviving models are studied as relics of engineered propaganda. Footnote: the Volksempfänger exemplified technological control through state-regulated media dissemination. 12. The propaganda press and cinema. Through Der Stürmer and Goebbels' Ministry of Propaganda, journalism and cinema became accomplices to mass deception. The printed word incited hatred, the moving image sanctified it. Triumph of the will transformed politics into theater, with Hitler framed as a divine figure. After the war, these materials were classified as propaganda artifacts, banned except for historical use. Footnote: Nazi propaganda media remain censored, their reproduction limited to archival and educational contexts. 13. The legal machinery of oppression. Nazism weaponized the law itself. The Nuremberg laws legalized racism. The People's Court replaced justice with spectacle. The enemy of the state doctrine turned suspicion into sentencing. Each law made persecution look orderly. Each decree disguised murder as procedure. Today, these documents are preserved as evidence of how legality can become lethal when stripped of ethics. Footnote: the Nazi legal system institutionalized discrimination, illustrating how legality can facilitate atrocity. 14. Eugenics in Action T4, Medicine Against Humanity. Nazi doctors sterilized hundreds of thousands under the law for the prevention of hereditary diseases. Then came Action T4, the euthanasia of those deemed unfit. Hospitals became execution sites. These medical crimes formed the blueprint for the Holocaust. Their exposure at Nuremberg led to the Nuremberg Code, establishing ethical limits for research on human subjects. Footnote: the Nazi eugenics and T4 programs underpin modern medical ethics laws and prohibitions against involuntary procedures. 15. The lesson in symbols. Every band emblem, every outlawed phrase, every censored song is more than a relic, it's a reminder. These creations were not mere art, uniforms, or words. They were instruments that organized, justified, and executed control on an industrial scale. Their prohibition is not censorship, it is self-defense. Footnote: modern prohibitions on Nazi symbols serve as collective safeguards against the re-emergence of totalitarian ideology.